Welcome to Blueprint Life. My name is Matt Andress. Each week we'll talk a little bit about life and family and finances, talking about a life that's designed better than one that just happens. I want to talk today about foundations. If you look behind me at this build, this is our new home. You'll hear the sound of workers. Saws are cutting, they're putting in, right now they're putting in siding for the house. They'll be putting in some external trim. And then simultaneously, they will start working on getting the outside to look like it's going to look permanently, and all the finishes on the inside. There'll be things like electrical and plumbing and all that. But before all that started, the thing that seemed to take forever, the thing that was not exciting, the thing that was tedious and laborious, all that was the foundation work. If you look at this house, it says you can't see the whole lot, but it's on a slope. And because of the slope, there had to be adjustments made on how this was built. This is not a slab foundation. I grew up in a part of Alabama that had really great soil. It was super firm, red clay. You could basically clean it off, get it down to the dirt, pack a little bit, and build right away. Hardly any prep was needed. Where I live currently, we don't have that gift. It is the soil here needs prep. There are places where people go out and dig out these pads where they'll take a big old square of dirt out and they'll add 4, 5, 6 or multiple feet of dirt in to create a pad. This house has two different kinds of foundation. Up the hill where the garage sits, it's on a traditional slab foundation. Behind me directly is what they call a pier foundation, meaning there are dozens of piers spaced out strategically underneath this house, where they are designed to hold parts of the floor structure. And so when we built this house, we spent a lot of time designing what we wanted the house to do and what we wanted the rooms to do and all that. But the thing that was the most important thing was this foundation. I mentioned to you before that my father was a home builder. And so because of being a home builder, I know how important it is to get your foundation right. Later on in life, my dad switched from building just brand new homes to where he started buying homes that were needing to be renovated and flipped. Some he kept as rentals, some he sold as it was, and some he actually would rehab them and then either rent them out to new tenants or he would basically sell them for retail. And there's something interesting. When my dad would go into a house, he could look up at the wall and could look at the corners and could look at the different parts of the house, and he could see cracks in the sheetrock, or he could see where there was a tilt in a wall or a tilt in a corner. And you could look up here and he knew that there were some foundation issues. All that stuff that was at eye level or above had a problem that started even beneath our feet. And so interestingly, he would not buy a house that had major foundation problems. As good as he was at construction, he understood how to fix things. He would fix things like sheetrock and bad paint and bad siding and bad roofs, all that stuff. That was no big deal to him. But if he found a house that had a really bad foundation, it scared him. He didn't want to mess with it because he knew that everything was built on how strong and stable and planned out that foundation was. And there's a lot of truth in that metaphor for us. In my work as a financial planner at Blueprint Financial Partners, we help people build really solid, strong foundations. The most of what our work is we do financial planning for people. We take couples, some have children, some have kids that are out of the house, some are right at the edge of retirement. Some people are 10 years out from retirement. Some people are already retired. But we look at some major areas of life. There's about 6 areas that we look at with all kinds of little subcategories, but we look at things that directly affect people. And these areas form the collective financial foundation. They're the things that when put together will make your house, your life, solid or not solid. In this house, what's interesting, you see some piers are bricked on the outside. They're for appearance. You'll drive by this house eventually. There'll be some horizontal slats between these front piers, and they'll be painted to match the house, and there'll be a really nice aesthetic even more important to remember is that there are going to be, most of the piers of this house are not going to be seen. They're going to be tucked up underneath the house. They're going to be in the shadows. They're going to be out of sight, but that doesn't make them even any less important. Actually, they're just as important as all the things that are visible. To be frank, there are lots of parts of what we do for people that just really isn't exciting. It's just not exciting. I had someone say that financial planning isn't sexy. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's not. But it's important. There are lots of things in life that are not exciting, but they're super important. And in this house, if the foundation's not right, it doesn't matter how beautiful the first floor or above is. It doesn't matter how nice the siding is. If that foundation is not correct, then everything else is not going to be correct either. It's going to be a repercussion, an echo of that bad foundation. So at Blueprint, we help people by asking tough questions. We look at areas like, we look at life insurance. You know, do you have enough life insurance in place? And people always go, well, how much do I need to have? Well, we have a discussion with people about what do they want that to do? Is it for legacy? Is it to replace income? Everybody knows that life insurance covers, you know, when someone dies, burying them, but that's really the smallest expense. But it goes a lot further. We look at things, that's part of your risk. We look at property and casualty insurance. Are you paying too much for your coverage? We look at things like tax strategies. Are you keeping as much as you can of the money you've made? We look at cash flow, the way you budget and spend your money. We look at legacy planning, where how do you want to take care of the next generation and the generation after that? We look at things like estate and estate and will planning. Do you have the legal documents in place to take care of you? And the list goes on and on and on. So again, 6 major areas. If you own a business, there's even more things that we discuss. But again, all of that is part of your foundation. All of that collectively is put together and it forms who you are financially. Now, here's what's interesting about finances and foundations. People have a tendency to repeat the kind of foundation that they came from or that they watched growing up. So I have a story I love to tell. So there was this man, there was a young guy that his family loved to fish. Ironically, I'm looking at a pier, a little dock across the street from here. But this guy, in my story, he loved to fish. And one day he was fishing with his dad, and they caught some catfish. So it's a son and his father. And they caught some catfish, and they were back at the house cleaning them up. And the dad, the fish was large. And the dad, as he cleaned up, he trimmed it down to a piece of meat that was really small, really kind of short. And he said, Dad, there's a lot of meat left, a lot of really good meat on the left and right of that fish. What are you doing with it? He goes, well, son, I don't know. This is just how we do it as a family. And he said, well, I think we're wasting food. Should we maybe think about that? He said, I don't know. It's how we've always done it. If you've got a problem with it, the next time you're with your grandpa, ask him. Okay. And so the son is, you know, the next few weeks he goes fishing, but this time he invites his grandfather. And again, same story. They catch some catfish, and it's big fish. So they back at the house, they're cleaning it up, and the grandfather, the son, so 2 generations apart, watches the grandfather fillet out a piece of meat, and that's again about the same size as his dad did. And he says, Grandpa, why in the world do you trim down all that meat? So there's plenty of meat left on the left and right that you're missing. What are you doing that for? And he said, son, you know what? That's just the way we do it. That's our family tradition. And they were blessed to have, even the great-grandfather was still alive. And so, again, a couple weeks later, the son takes the great-grandfather fishing. Same story. They catch a big catfish, big fish. They go back, they're cleaning it up. And the son is doing the cleaning this time. And the great-grandfather says, son, cut it down. And he puts his hand in about the same size as both the father and the grandfather had done. And the young man says, Great Grandpa, why do we do that? We're wasting fish. He says, why do we always cut it this big? And he says, well, you know, son, I don't know. We've always done it that way, but I guess it's because that's just the size of our skillet. So think about that. Multiple generations of this family had made decisions that were based off of something they had seen that was generations long. They had decided that they were only going to do what they could do based off what they had seen other people do. And that's kind of how it is with a foundation. It's how if you don't have your foundation right, there are going to be things that you're going to need to do that are not going to work. There are going to be things that you need to do that are not going to be good for you because you don't have that base of what you need it to be. So with your finances, there's a lot of thought that goes into that. Here's the other thing about foundations. When I was getting this home built, I know nothing about foundation work. I don't know anything about foundation work. I know a house needs a foundation. I know there's kind of different kinds of foundation. I could probably spot a foundation. That's a foundation being poured. But it's so important that I knew that it would not be a good thing to go save a little money by me trying to direct them doing this foundation. We hired engineers. We hired a man that had specialized equipment that came out here, and he drilled all these piers at certain distances. They have rebar and concrete, and they're designed for strength. So I knew that this foundation was so incredibly important that I didn't need to try to just save a few dollars on this foundation work. And with our work, a lot of times people, we're trying to convey the value of what we do to people, because people sometimes, I'll just do it myself. Well, the problem is that there's so many laws and so many tools and so many strategies that a person just can't know about. There's no way that someone that's busy with their life and their family and doing their job and all the things that they do can know about all the things that we spend 40, 50, sometimes 60 hours a week working on and learning. So there are things in life that you don't need to try to do yourself, that you need to outsource. You need to say, hey, I think it'd be better if I brought in professionals to help me with this. I believe that foundations are incredibly important. When I build this house, when I get in the house, if I need to change the color of the walls in my bedroom, I'll go to Sherwin-Williams, I'll get a drop cloth, I'll get a roller, I'll get some of that blue tape, I'll tape around the windows, I'll do that stuff. That can be fixed. But this foundation, there's one time to do it. And as you think about your finances, as you think about living a life that's designed, not just happening, you got to think about, how is my foundation? Is it solid? Is it stable? Is it prepared for the future? We knew when we built this house that we were going to have multiple floors, so we had to ask ourselves the question, how much strength does that bottom level need to have all these multiple levels sitting on top of it? That's what we help people do with their finances and their families. So again, hope this is helpful. Think about your life. Think about the foundations. Do you have anybody helping you? Do you have anybody asking those tough questions and maybe pointing out the things you've done right? You may be better off than you think you are, but why not get another set of eyes, another set of ears, another mind thinking through your finances and your future and your legacy and your business and all those things in life that all are connected to the strength of your foundation. Have a great week.